I streamed for 6 hours testing all of this, including mostly the Lunar Affinity. Ladies and gentlemen, the affinities have been released. And first off, Lunar is really funny, but Shadow is simpler. So I'm going to start with the Shadow one. So let's do that. The Lunar Affinity is actually crazy though. It's actually insane. It's my favorite affinity by far. You'll soon see why. So after unlocking the Shadow Servitor, it says allows insertions of select Shadow components into your circuitry, granting your chassis various abilities in both inhabited and uninhabited states. You can see here in your circuitry, you've unlocked this thing. This is the Shadow circuit. So you can plug 3 things into this: Nightmare Fuel, the Shadow Atrium, and the Possessed Shadow Atrium. Plugging in Nightmare Fuel does this. So some berry bushes. Let me just pick these real quick. If I pick it, ooh, a shadow comes out of me and picks a close by berry bush. If I pick this carrot, a shadow comes out and picks the berry bush. And if I pick something up, it picks the berry bush. If I pick the berry bush, it will pick up the berries. So every time you do one action of either picking up or harvesting, if there's something close by, then a shadow will be sent out to harvest or pick. So I'll pick this carrot and it will pick up the seeds. I pick this carrot, it does nothing because there's nothing close by. This works for basically any kind of harvestable thing or picking things up. So when it harvests, it knocks it on the floor, it doesn't actually bring it to your inventory. So if you're picking grass in the early game, you'll go here and you can pick up grass. You pick this grass, it will pick up seeds. Now I'm pretty sure that's all this does for now. So now we move on to the Shadow Atrium. So I pick that and it picks me up flint. Amazing. Now we move on to the Shadow Atrium. So let me just pull this out. So the Shadow Atrium does everything the Nightmare Fuel does. So if you plug this in, you get this by defeating a level 3 shadow piece, of course. So if I pick this grass, a shadow will go out and do that. So it does the same thing as Nightmare Fuel, and it has these additional effects. Did you see that thing right there? Did you see that little whip? So this is what it does. A tentacle whips enemies to apply a vex when you get close, making that enemy take 25% more physical damage from players, including WX-78. Now this is best shown with like a Gloomrang or something. So first of all, watch this rabbit. As I go towards it, see that? See that little whip animation? Now there's a vex applied to that rabbit, so it takes 25% more damage. That's what that little animation is. So when you get close to something, it vexes it. Let's go close to this butterfly and you'll see it again. See that? This frog? It doesn't get the aggro, it just applies the vex, right? So that's what that does. And then you'll be able to see it in action if we spawn a pigman. If I throw this at a pigman, I do 54.4 damage. Now he's vexed because it just hit. Let me just let him stand at max distance. Then I throw another Gloomrang, 61.2 damage. So the physical part of the Gloomrang got buffed by 25% because the pig was vexed. Now this vex, I don't know how long it lasts. It might last forever, but once it runs out, it just reapplies as long as you're close to the enemy. Now, this is a very simple effect, but also very effective. Day 21, you're going to want to be fighting a shadow, fighting 3 rooks. So you get a Shadow Atrium for Fuel Weaver, a Shadow Atrium for yourself, so you have 25% physical damage buff, and a Shadow Atrium to make a Shadow Maul later on for the spin circuits that we've gone over in previous videos. So this is a pretty solid buff, just 25% physical damage they can get on day 21 if you really try. Now the last thing is when you have a chassis. So watch my previous videos to learn about the rest of the skill tree, but you can make these chassis, right, which you can transfer consciousness to. So know that this chassis has a heart in it, okay? And then we switch consciousness to the body that doesn't have a heart in it. You can see this chassis has the atrium's like veins going around it. Now if I speed up time, what this does is, if you're familiar with boulder bow trees, this has a very similar effect. Over time, vines will sprout out of the ground, and they'll hold like rocks, flint, or other resources related to the biome that it was in. I tried this in the ruins and it gave me thulsite fragments and a blue gem, but I only tried it for like 5 minutes. I'm just going to speed up time by 20 times. Oh, there we go. There's one Shadow Atrium tendril and it's holding a rock. You see that? Oh, and another one, it's holding a rock again, it looks like. And there's a third one also holding a rock. And you can chop these. Oh no, sorry, it's poop. It was holding poop. And then, oh, this is the second thing it does. When there's resources close to the body, it actually gathers them. So these seeds, they're a bit too far away. If they're closer, ooh, it goes out and grabs them. So this can be used as kind of auto-collecting. Like if you just chop down a bunch of trees, you can put a chassis with a Shadow Atrium plugged in, and it will very slowly gather them. So it's grabbing one at a time. And I did try to use the spatializer circuit with this, so you can put a spatializer bit in here. But this does not gather and put things directly inside the spatializer unit inside its own inventory. That doesn't work. It doesn't work together like that. So it does just collect them to slots like that. But that's still cool. Now that's what that does, and there's a limit. I believe there's only three veins can grow at once from one body. You can do this up to 3 bodies, but you probably want to use your bodies for something else, as you'll soon see. So there's one more upgrade to this skill. So let me just transfer consciousness. The last thing is you can take out this, and instead you can get a possessed shadow atrium. So of course, if you feed a shadow atrium to a mimic in Ancient Guardians Labyrinth or Fuel Weavers like Labyrinth, you get the possessed shadow atrium. Now you can plant this into WX's circuitry. This does everything the same as everything we've already discussed, plus it does 2 extra things. If I switch out of this body again, so remember that one has the possessed shadow atrium, so it's going to continue collecting like it did, but what it also does, this possessed shadow atrium will now periodically spawn mimics, shadow mimics. But that's not all. If you have a shadow atrium plugged into yourself, you can now use mimicked items. So if you didn't know, mimics have had quite the history. You used to be able to mimic construction amulets, and then you could use the first use of a construction amulet before it would turn back into a mimic, so you got free construction amulet uses. But then they removed that, but now they've reintroduced it with WX. So WX with a possessed shadow atrium plugged in, if we just implant it, I can now use duped items. Now the duped items come from this chassis, but I'm just waiting for it to actually create one. I'm going to speed up time until after you've killed Fuel Weaver. Oh, look, a mimic. Do you see that? There it is. It just spawned a mimic. So it came out of the body, spawned there, and then it duplicated a construction amulet. Wow. Now normally, if I then picked this up and I try to use it, it would turn back into a mimic. But instead, I'm going to make a grass suit, and it's going to cost me half. Wait, what? Let's see. Alright, that's the duplicated axe. Okay. So this is the duplicated axe. So I can use, like, tools, but I can't... I thought it worked with the deconstruction staff and construction amulet, but it doesn't. It duped the deconstruction staff. Let's see if we can use that. Okay, so you can use the deconstruction staff. Like, with the construction amulet, WX said trickery in it didn't work. Interesting. So I'm not sure why the construction amulet didn't work the first time, but the deconstruction staff did work. So anyway, point is, I think it works for everything, but I think the construction amulet, that might have been a bug. Pretty sure it's meant to work with everything, the mimics. But yeah, because I have the possessed shadow atrium plugged in, I can use mimicked items, which means if you let your mimics make extra Starcaller staffs, make extra deconstruction staffs, you can just get free deconstruction staff, free Starcaller staffs. That's pretty good. So that is the entirety of the Shadow Affinity, and that was pretty quick, as you probably could tell by the length of the video. So now let's switch over to the Lunar Affinity, shall we? And by the way, and lots of people asked, oh, by the way, I forgot to say, I streamed for 6 hours testing all of this, including mostly the Lunar Affinity. So, yeah, just saying. So during my 6-hour stream, loads of people asked this question. Basically, is there a way to trick the game into having both affinities? Like, can you build stuff, place stuff, and then have both? And the TLDR is no. You can't have both affinities active at the same time. Because if you could, both of these affinities have quite good synergy, but you can't have them both at the same time. Anyway, let's move on to the Lunar Affinity, shall we? My favorite. It's so much fun. I have so much to talk about. So you see that as I came back, the shadow heart just got puked out because I don't have the correct affinity. So that's what happens. Anyway, we don't need this guy. Goodbye. Remember these chassis? We'll start with one because it will keep it simple. So I'm just going to plug an illumination circuit into this body here. And now I'm going to switch to this body. And I'm going to put an illumination circuit into this body as well. Just open this inventory, plug a super illumination circuit in. Just going to clear my inventory. So we both have super illumination circuits, yes? Okay, so by unlocking the Lunar Affinity, you've unlocked a new craft, this thing, the Spectral Transfer Module. Allow a lunar entity to possess your chassis, what could go wrong? It is very expensive. Again, you don't need to unlock this, so you don't need to scan anything for it, but it's 12 biodata and 2 scrap. 12 biodata is quite expensive, so you might want to use some construction amulets and deconstruction staffs to dupe up some biodata, but I'm going to cheat. Anyway, you craft this, you attach it to your WX body, and now you can do one of 2 things. This allows a Gestalt to infest your body, but there's 2 ways to get a Gestalt into the body. You can just put this down near where Gestalts are already somewhere. So if you're in the Lunar Grotto, a guard will come along and will possess the body. If you're on Lunar Island, Gestalt will float around and they will possess the body. Or if you have or if it's like a moonstorms, then during a full moon night, Gestalts will appear on the mainland and infest the body. If you have the Celestial Crown with all 5 jewels plugged into it, that will also create Gestalts. Or another way, you can make the Plasmo Encapsulator and you can capture a Gestalt and then feed it to the chassis. I'll do both just to show you, like, that's what you can do. So if you found, for example, at the Lunar Portal, you would find a Grazer, you can capture it and bam. Grazers don't naturally infest the body. They won't go up to it and they won't infest it. Instead, you have to capture them and then give it to the body. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spawn a Gestalt guard. These are guys that you find in the Lunar Grotto. As you can see, he goes up to the body and he infests it. But what does that do? Oh, it's coming to life. Jakeyosaurus' possessed chassis. Huh, interesting. Oh my goodness, it's following me. And if you remember, I plugged an illumination circuit into it and it's illuminating. Oh my goodness, fellas. These are WX-78 clones, and you know how you can make 3 chassis? That's right, you can have 3 clones at the same time. Now, there's so much to go over with these, but let me just go over all of the rules to them and how they work, and then we'll go into the dumb stuff you can do with them. So, of course, you craft this item and install it onto the body, and then it can infest with the Gestalt. This alive body is a body just like you. It has health, it has hunger, it has sanity. It has the default amount, unless you have circuits in it which buff its stats, and that is to say every circuit you can make you can plug into this chassis just like your chassis, and it will get the exact same effect, the exact same base effect at least, because these chassis, the possessed chassis, do not inherit your skills from your skill tree. So for example, the beam booster shield you get from the alpha circuit tinkering does not apply to this chassis because, like I said, it does not inherit these skills. It gets the base circuit only. But that does mean you can give it triple speed, you can give it block, you can give it health, you can give it beam booster so it regenerates. So how long do these things last? Well, I think they last forever. I don't think they have a time limit, unless of course they die. And when I say die, it means like when your body would naturally die, these guys just deactivate. So the Gestalt dies and the body goes back to looking like this, but without this machine on top of it. So it dies when its health hits 0, and when it starts starving, its health will then hit 0, and then it will become deactivated. Or if its sanity meter gets too low, the Gestalt doesn't like low sanity, so then it leaves the body. So that's also something quite interesting. So you can't give this thing Dreadstone armor, because the Dreadstone will drain its sanity and kill the body. And indeed, you can give this thing weapons and armor, don't worry, we'll get to it. And it works just the same as WX. So if I give this thing a log suit, maybe a football helmet, maybe a handbat, it will wear them all the same. Now currently in the beta, when WX turns into the possessed version, the inventory and worn gear gets completely wiped, it all gets deleted. That's probably a bug, but what happens right now is if you give it a new weapon, it will drop the weapon that it's currently holding. And if you give it new armor, it will drop the armor that it was currently holding, like that. I'm not going to go into the details of this subject, but the TLDR is, once this armor breaks, you have to give him new armor. You can't repair it, you can't put armor in his inventory for it to auto-equip. I tried everything. I tried giving it armor, tried giving it repair kits, I tried forcing armor into its inventory using a lazy forager. I tried everything. So TLDR, if you want it to have more armor, you have to keep giving it armor when the armor breaks. Now, so it can use weapons, it can use armor, and it can use all of your circuits. Here's the downside. It does half the damage of WX, half over everything, half planar damage, half physical damage. Because it does half damage, it also consumes half durability. So, for example, this is the first thing I thought of course, because I'm addicted. The Brightshade Staff has 50 uses and does 10 planar damage. This possessed WX will do 5 damage, but it will have that staff will have 100 uses in that WX's hands. If I attack this, you can see it throws out an attack. And you can see it goes by command. See how when I stop attacking, the clone also stops attacking, the possessed chassis? So the logic and behavior for these clones are really, really good. Let me explain what they do. So whenever you attack, they attack. And like that's like you're going to do an attack command. See how I didn't actually attack there, but I was going to attack? but they follow your command. And if you just hold F, they will also hold F. And then when you stop attacking, they stop attacking. Their next order of priority is if they're close to a hostile enemy, they will run away unless you're telling them to attack. This is really good in boss fights. Let me try to show it. I'm gonna give my guy full bright shade, and we're gonna fight mutated Beardra together. So this is my circuit loadout I've just plugged in real quick for demonstration. So it's speed, electric, illumination, double health, and beam booster. I'm gonna quickly switch consciousness and put that onto this machine as well. Even though this guy has no circuit charges, all of his circuits will be active when I switch out of him and make him into a possessed Gestalt, and then he will become infested. So the double speed circuit is in effect. Oh baby! All right, let me give him all of his gear. Dodge! Yeah! This is marvelous. Dodge, lad! Oh my goodness, he actually dodged it. No way. He didn't get hit, but I did. So as you can see, his behavior, when you stop attacking, he'll want to run away, get a certain distance from the enemy, and otherwise want to go close to me. So he ran away from Beardra, and so did he get hit. And also the electric circuit makes it so that he's like stunning Beardra every time Beardra hits him. And then we do that. Oh my goodness, he dodged it again. He's actually too good, dude. Like, he dodged it and I didn't. That's how good he is. So anyway, that gives you, like, an example of what it looks like to use them. So, but we still have a few more things to go over before I can tell you how stupid they get, right? They have a little quirk when they... So, if you plug the block circuit into these guys... Let me just, real quick, let me switch over to a blank chassis. So, Gestalt Guard infest that. You can see it wipes the helmet and the inventory, but that's fine. See, it's instantly blocking. So the order of priority now, because it has a block circuit plugged in, it will always use the block circuit and the other circuit that it can use, this one. The Sonic Invoker and block circuits, it will always use them as much as possible, but then will instantly cancel them if other conditions would make it want to move or kite or attack. The TLDR with this, you know what? I'll just overlay the footage over the top. I killed Warbot and Celestial Scion with triple clones with circuits, and I gave them block circuits, and what ended up happening is when I would want the robots to kite, so I would stop attacking, but instead of running away, they would block for like half a second, and then they would start running, and then they would be too late, and they would get hit while they weren't blocking. So I ended up just unplugging the blocking circuits so they could kite a little bit faster. Wait, what? Wait a second. Why are they all still alive? I've eaten all my Harrow gummies. What just happened? And of course, you can give them the spinning circuit. So if I plug this into this robot here. So this one now has the spinning circuit, and I transfer consciousness to this one. And I can give it the pick/axe. Then if I tell it to attack, there it goes. Look, it's spinning. So again, because it doesn't have these skills, it spins slower than you would, but it still spins nonetheless. And of course, does half damage, drains half durability, but it does AoE damage, baby. He's spinning. He's hitting everything, and he can only spin for 8 seconds before getting dizzy. Oh, by the way, they added some dizziness effects, so the dizziness builds up, so you can tell when you're about to get dizzy, because the dizziness builds up a little bit. But yeah, so it can use the spinner circuit. And also they changed the spin circuit so that if you have two of them plugged in, you can spin for 12 seconds rather than 8 seconds, which is literally something I said in my last WX video. Do Clay watch my videos? Oh my goodness. But so I've kind of shown the variations of what these chassis can do. And I streamed for 6 hours testing these, and so I have a pretty good understanding of what's good and what's not. A bad thing about these guys, though, it's like kind of really lame, to be honest, is if you try to take them into the caves, they don't follow you into the caves, which is like, okay, sure, whatever. So if we go back up, you can see they've just deactivated, which is really lame. So every time the Gestalt dies or they otherwise deactivate, you have to spend 12 more biodata on each one to reactivate them. And not only that, but you have to like find a Gestalt to infest them. I've been spawning them in, but realistically, in the early game, you have to take them to Lunar Island or the Lunar Grotto. In the mid game, you can take them to a Moonstorm, and in the late game, you can use a jeweled Celestial Crown or a Plasmo Encapsulator to infest them wherever. Now, we haven't got to the really good bit yet. I haven't shown you what kind of damage these things can do, but I have to show you one more thing, which is something I discovered right at the end of my stream earlier today. and that is, depending on what gestalt you put in here determines whether they have planar entity status. You heard right, planar entity status. So the gestalt you plug into them doesn't change their behavior at all. If you get any gestalt from the post-Celestial Champion world, i.e. from the Lunar Rift, through either the gestalts that make the plants, the gestalts that infest bodies to bring them back to life, like mutated Berger, or the grazers that spawn by the portal, if any of those go into the body, they become lunar entities. So, for example, if I make an encapsulator and I spawn a lunar grazer, these things spawn out of the Lunar Rift and in the endgame. You capture that, and I just give it to the gestalt. Then this is now a planar entity. I'll show you the damage difference in a second. Now, this is the gestalt that infests plants to become a bright shade. Look, I just spawned it, and it instantly well, because I spawned it, it's kind of not working fully. But as you can see, there we go. It infests the body. So if a bright shade comes to spawn, it seems like if it tries to spawn a bright shade, like at the plant, it will infest your WX body instead. And you can catch those incursive gestalts. So let me spawn it. Here we go, corpse gestalt. As you can see, it's going straight towards WX. So I didn't have a chance to show you, but you can grab those gestalts. But those are the 3 different gestalts that can make a planar entity clone of WX. Basically, all of the gestalts that come from the Lunar Rift in the endgame. So I'll show you the damage difference. I'm just going to spawn some killer bees, and you'll see that I'll do 8.8 damage. See that? 8.8 damage. Each poke, they take 8.8 damage rather than 10. That's their planar entity status, reducing the physical damage they take. This is huge because it makes these things even tankier than they are already. And yeah, I discovered this right at the end and I kind of freaked out at the stream. It's very cool. Now, because you have to maintain these things' stats, it seems like Clay are trying to make these like a short-term thing, as in you're not meant to keep these things alive for very long because they're pretty powerful. So once their hunger hits 0, their health starts draining, and then they die, and then you have to bring them back to life. I get this idea that they want to make these like short-term things because when you go into the caves, they despawn. So basically, when these bodies die, the gestalt is the thing that dies, and the bodies stay. Why are these the best DPS in the game? Well, let me show you. So they do half damage, right? But what doesn't care about your personal damage, as people in the Twitch chat have discovered? This is going to be some Brightshade Staff propaganda. See, all you have to do is kill Celestial Champion 4 times, then Celestial Scion 4 times, and then you can access this type of DPS. So let me just give my boys a Brightshade Staff each, and they can have a crown each, and they're going to obey what I do. So, do you know how much damage like a Handbat does? 59 damage is like 130 DPS if you hold F. 130 DPS with a Handbat. Keep that in mind. Now with my robot army, I'm just gonna hold F with Brightshade Staffs and Enlightened Crowns with jewels in them. Oh, that DPS is going up. That's a lot of gestalts. I tell you what, that's a lot of gestalts. What's the DPS looking like? Oh my, wait, 1,000 DPS on one of the dummies? And it's still going up? Fellas, look at the DPS. We've got like 2,300 DPS. And my staff has broken, but these guys' staff are still at 50%. Look, let me swap them out. His staff is at 53%. And that's because he drains half durability. But why this is so much DPS is because every time you swing the Brightshade Staff, it bounces 5 times. So it hits 5 times total. And each bounce releases a gestalt. So every swing of a Brightshade Staff releases 5 gestalts. So that's 255 damage while ignoring the Brightshade Staff damage. So all of these WXs are releasing 255 damage just on every attack. So even though their Brightshade Staff damage has been reduced to 5, the gestalt damage from their crown is not touched because it's not technically their damage. So that's why this is absolutely insane. Now these numbers are kind of arbitrary. 2,300 DPS? Whatever. Sounds cool, but how much damage is that really? Well, shall we find out? Shall we put it to the test? Oh, I just realized I gave all these guys all of the circuits, but I haven't given myself any circuits. Oh, and by the way, the circuit layout for these guys, in my humble opinion, the electric circuit is really good because it makes it so that they won't get comboed out. But triple speed is also very good because it means that they can't die all that easily. And also double health and bean booster, because when they start doing the belly hunger animation, that's when you can feed them. to restore their hunger. But otherwise, double health is quite good. Now, even though they do have bean booster circuits, so they do regenerate health, but they don't get this honeycomb shield like I do, because if you remember, like I said, they don't inherit these skills. Now, what's a good boss we can use for this? The ultimate noob filter, 2 Deerclopses. Oh my goodness. Let's hold F, boys. See how fast they die. Oh no, they got hit. Oh no. Oh wait. Oh, the Deerclopses are dead. Anyway, so that's what 2,300 DPS looks like, and I forgot to even give them armor. Goodness gracious. But also, did you see that they only got hit by 44 damage? So Deerclops' 75 damage got reduced to 44 because these guys are planar entities. That's like, that's insane. Like, that's insane. They can tank so easily. So let me just drop some math on you guys. So me, if I hold F, I can let out 50 shots with the Brightshade Staff. Every shot is 255 damage from the crown and 10 damage from the staff. That's 265 damage per shot, and I can do that 50 times. So that's 13,250 damage from my staff. Now these guys can let out 260 damage per shot, but they can use the Brightshade Staff 100 times rather than 50 times. So we multiply that by a nice 100. That's 26,000 damage per staff, these guys. 26,000 damage. So if we multiply that by 3, that's 78,000 damage, and I'm doing 13,000 damage. That's over 90,000 damage we can deliver as a unit before our Brightshade Staffs break, which is, yeah, insane. Of course, this does rely on you always having 2 targets, and your Gestalt always hitting those 2 targets, because, yeah, you need 2 targets for the Brightshade Staff to bounce between. And otherwise, look at this, look, they follow me. Wait, we've got a straggler. Where is he? There he is. Oh, wait, I don't think this guy has the speed circuits. Oh, another thing. They added the spin circuits effect to pickaxes and hammers, which is, like, interesting. It's, like, kind of whatever, but I'll show it. So, if you have a pickaxe, you do mining. Oh, also, these guys also mine for you, but they mine and chop for you and work for you, but right now they're kind of bugged. So they have to be right next to the rock to make them mine. See, he's not mining, even though he's right next to it, but he has to be like right next to it, and then he'll mine. Like, there we go. See? And this guy even has a spin circuit, so he's spinning. And so yeah, you can do the same thing with hammers. And also, when they spin, they just keep spinning until they get dizzy, which is kind of funny. Anyway, here, have your Brightshade Staff. And now let's spawn a little bit of Bee Queen, shall we? So we only want to let out the Brightshade Staff when there's things to bounce between. So we're going to kind of just like wait for her to spawn minions. And as you can see, look at their behavior. It's so well done. Clay, really good job on the behavior of the clones. Their behavior is like really good. It being they attack or run to follow you, but they also want to get away from anything that's hostile, which is just so good. It makes them so well suited for boss fights because they can kite really easily. And this guy, he's blocking because he's got nothing to do, and the other guys are hungry. For this Brightshade Staff, you can like fake attack to make your minions attack without actually letting out an attack. And that's kind of efficient because they take half durability to do basically the same damage as you. So it's kind of efficient for you just not to attack. But like in the, oh my goodness. So as you can see, this guy's staff just broke, but he's not equipping anything. So his staff is now inside of his inventory because it broke. And he won't re-equip it, he won't repair it, and I cannot access his inventory to fix it for him. So I need to give him a new Brightshade Staff. Oh, he just died. So you see, he just died, and the Gestalt dies, but the body just returns to normal, and he drops all the gear. As you can see, he has a broken Brightshade Staff. So on stream, I was trying to fix this issue for so long, of like trying to, you know what, Bee Queen, I've had enough of you. I want to talk to the YouTubers. I want to talk to my audience, my beautiful audience. Get him, boys. Oh, also, the Gestalts from your WX's crowns can hit you, but it's not been an issue the whole time I've been doing this. An issue with these WX clones, and I imagine that, I hope they fix it, but I imagine they'll just leave it alone because they're already powerful enough. When armor breaks, they will not try to repair it. So in the end game, when Brightshade breaks, you can see here, it's a 0%, but it doesn't disappear. So with just one repair kit, with a repair kit, you can repair it, and you can start using it again, right? These guys, if you give them repair kits, so right now you actually can't give them items. If you give them something, if you give them like, I don't know, honey, they won't take it. So you can't store stuff in their inventory currently. You can force stuff into their inventory with a lazy forager, but the TLDR is, once the Brightshade gear, once armor breaks, they won't re-equip it, they won't fix it, they won't use it. They will only use gear that you directly give them. Because broken Brightshade can't be worn, they don't drop the broken armor. It goes into their inventory, which you can't access. So Clay, please, let us access their inventory or make them a little bit smarter so that we can give them repair kits and then they can repair their own armor. That would be so good. That would be so good. That's the only thing that's kind of annoying right now. Because once their Brightshade staffs break, the staffs go into their inventory and then you can't access it. So you have to give them a brand new Brightshade staff rather than just repairing that existing Brightshade staff. So it's kind of whack. Oh look, Gestolts. These are natural Gestolts from my crown. In you go. There we go. By the way, I'm like very much skipping over how expensive it is to give all these guys circuits and Brightshade staffs and armor and the amount of biodata, but like it's really funny. Anyway, spawn a bunch of spider queens. Look how fast they all melt. This is what 2,200 DPS looks like. Or 2,300. Oh look, they're all dead. Oh wait, we still got one alive. That's not allowed. Even the single target damage is really good. This isn't super powerful because of the clones. This is powerful because of the crown, the staff, and multiplayer. You effectively have achieved multiplayer without multiplayer because you can make clones, and it's amazing. It's beautiful. Now, this is kind of stupid. Now, let me show you the most practical way you'll use this. In the end game, at least, what you'll probably do is give them the circuits that I gave them, which is double health, bean booster, and at least 2 speeds, and probably an electric. And then after that, you probably don't want to give them any blocks, because, run the clip, fighting Warbot and Celestial Scion, I discovered that the block just kind of gets in the way. So realistically, you'll give them a full set of Bright Shade, including a sword, right before a fight, then you'll bring them to life, give them the armor, and then you'll do the fight. And as can be seen on the clips on screen, I did the fight and I had all 3 living at the end. Like, Warbot and Celestial Scion is like the hardest fight. Like, the hardest fight, especially for minions, and all of my 3 minions survived. And Bean Booster let them regenerate a little bit, and I also fed them a Jelly Bean once when Warbot switched from Warbot to Scion. So with that, I was able to keep them alive for the entire fight, and their armor didn't break. But their armor would have been close to breaking. Yeah, so the clones are really powerful, or the possessed chassis. Wait, so I really like the Lunar Affinity. It's really fun. So I'm a Lunar Affinity fan. But also, in practicalness, practically in a real game, Shadow Servitor is super cheap. Just plug the heart in and you get 25% physical damage and job done. Like, you don't have to worry about it. Cool. The Lunar Affinity in a real game, the earliest you can achieve one of these clones is you have to make one of these, which require 12 biodata, which is a lot of biodata, and then you have to go to Lunar Island and possess your clones. And then if they die, you then have to then destroy the chassis and take it back to Lunar Island to get it repossessed. And because they don't follow you into the caves, you have to make your own cave chassis. So you'd have to build these chassis in the Lunar Grotto so they can be infested by Gestolts there. And then in the end game, you can have this crown, so Gestolts appear anywhere on the map, so you can repossess them really easily. And of course, you can use the Plasma Encapsulator to grab certain Gestolts. So I've just plugged the lights into these chassis, and I'm just going to do a little test. Enable the rifts by killing the Celestial Champion real quick. So I'm just skipping to see if like bright shade plants will naturally come and infest the chassis, and it doesn't look like they do. But if I plant something like manually, now that I've planted these, hopefully bright shades will come to target these, then infest my corpses. But I'm not sure if it will work. Let's find out. Oh, here we go. Let's watch. Beardra just spawned. Oh, wow, it really does work. Okay, cool. So, it looks like these Gestolts, they come to infest these berry bushes that I planted, and then you can see 2 aimed at my bodies, and 2, one of them went to the plant. So, as long as you put your bodies near plants that can be targeted by bright shades, which TLDR is just plants that you've planted, then the Gestolt will get close to the berry bush, but then switch targets to your chassis. So that's a way in post-Rift you can naturally get them infested without you having to do anything. Now let's do another little thing. If I kill Beardra while a portal is active, his body should get infested, right? But if I have this guy close by, so here comes the Gestolt, will it see my body before it sees Beardra? Oh, I think it sees my body. Look at that! So rather than mutating Beardra, this Gestolt went to my body instead. Will it send a second Gestalt to infuse Bairdra though? I don't think it will. Gestalts you can use to make it... Oh, there we go. Bairdra's body is gone. So you can use the Gestalt that makes Bright Shades, or the Gestalt that makes mutated bosses, or you can use Lunar Grazers, which are at the portal, but those ones you have to capture, I'm pretty sure. So you can see all of these speckles, they're Grazers. So if I do this, I don't think Grazers will naturally... I don't think Grazers naturally infest the chassis. Ooh, this guy's coming kind of close. Yeah, so it looks like Grazers don't naturally infest the body. You have to use a photo encapsulator to capture them and then put them in the body, whereas the boss ones are easy. Anyway, the easiest way to infest your bodies naturally without a photo encapsulator is to leave them near plants that would spawn Bright Shades, or kill a boss and have the chassis close by. Added Lunar and Shadow alignment skills. Visual effects will be added later to chassis affected by Lunar alignment skills, so they'll probably just have like Gestalt energy coming off them. Incursive Gestalts can now be encapsulated. Those are the ones that make Bright Shades and that infest bosses before you couldn't catch them. Reduce the cooldowns of Sonic, Invoker Circuit, and Blocking Circuit to 20 seconds. The Blocking Circuit used to be like 2 minutes or 1 minute, quite long. WX in the blocking state will now taunt creatures attacking their allies. Now, my initial thought for this was to have a dedicated chassis that's a tank, so it would always just stay in the block command, but whenever you're attacking, it will attack with you, so you can't really have a dedicated tank, and if you're sat there tanking, none of them will attack, because you have to be attacking to command them to attack. So good in concept, but it doesn't really work. Reduced biodata costs, reduced Nutribrick full fuel value, it used to be better. Then Spin Cycle Circuit. All axes, pickaxes, and hammers can now be used, but will recoil when hitting the wrong target. The first swing of the attack is less likely to miss now unless the target is running away. Let me show this really quick. I have the Spin Circuit. Perfect. You do, but... Oh, I have one hit. You do, but if you watch, you like launch forward. Your character like launches forward. As you can see, there's also a little bit of a bug here. I'm going to hold F. You can see it only calls them to attack once. And that's because at the moment, when you start spinning, it only counts as one attack command, as in it commands them to attack once and then you're doing nothing. Whereas if you hold F with like a scythe, since you're constantly sending attack commands, so it makes your WXs attack. And then when you let go, they kite. So yeah, that's a little bug that's happening right now if you spin. There is some other combos that I haven't gone over because basically they sounded good in concept, but in reality they're just not practical at all. For example, giving these things the jeweled Altar Guardian hat, giving them the jeweled Enlightened Crown so they have maxed out sanity so they can never die to having low sanity. Then you can give them the Shadow Maul, like a leveled up Shadow Maul so they can regenerate health. Then hypothetically they could never die because they're always regenerating health and they're always spinning to hit lots of times. But good in concept, but in reality, who's out here making 4 Shadow Mauls, leveling them up, then giving them to your chassis, and your chassis, by the way, they will use your Mauls until they break. And when they break, they go back to level 0 so they don't regenerate. So in reality, like, it's funny in concept, but in reality, just not practical at all to use Shadow Mauls with the possessed chassis. And also, they do less damage with Shadow Weapons, I'm pretty sure. So they, rather than half damage, I think they do quarter damage. But they get the regeneration, which is good. I think I've covered about everything. Lunar skill is amazing. Like, so funny. Like, so funny. I had such a blast playing for like 6 hours on stream with the Lunar Affinity. But in reality, the Shadow Affinity is like probably what you'll be using. Like, in the early game, you can do both. This eats up a lot of time and resources, but this is like simple. And you get like 25% physical damage, which is quite good. So I don't know which one I'll use in my boss rush. But yeah. Okay, I think that's about everything. I'm going to go now. I need to make my WX guide and get ready for this boss rush. Because this update is coming out on the 16th, by the way. 16th of April. Anyway, goodbye.